Man, this story is so compelling. I really wish I knew how to read. Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Just checking out a copy of Tommy from Junji Ito's collection. Got it off of Books A Million, and you should do the same. Feel free to check out the link in our bio, the link in the description of this video. Feel free to go on hubtaku.com and check out the Books A Million link. Get you a discounted copy of this. Any other manga you're looking for under the sun, they got it. You want your Bleach, you want your Sailor Moon, you want your Chainsaw Man, you're going to be able to see that on the site at a discounted rate. And most importantly, it's a physical copy. Nothing beats the paperback, dude. Feel free to check it out. That's booksamillion.com. Check the link in our bio, get you a discounted rate, and always keep your head in the clouds. Hello, everybody. Welcome to yet another episode of Air It Out, brought to you by your host, Vonnie of Hubtaku. I mentioned it last week. We had royalty on this podcast, bro. We got some royalty on this shit today, man. I'm gonna let this brother introduce himself because his accolades and shit getting to that point, like, bro, they speak for themselves. But we're gonna talk about all of that here. Who do I got the pleasure of speaking with?
Man, what's good, world? Man, it's your boy Young Deuces, representing the Geek Set podcast, the only podcast that blend hip hop culture and geek culture together. Also, the only black voice that you hear on Watch Mojo. And so, just out here, man, kicking it with my homie Vonnie, man.
Yo, niggas gonna talk about the Geek Set. We're gonna talk about Watch Mojo, all that shit. We're gonna get into that. I'm hella fucking excited to get to that on that point. The first thing I want to do, I always start off my interviews with this: air it out. You are allotted one quick topic that you could speak to. It could be anything. You could say, yo, I watched this one anime and I'm really fucking with it. You could speak to it and be like, yo, Giannis really put up buckets last week and I want to talk to these niggas. Anything under the sun you want to bring up, it's your free platform to say it and do so. And we're going to talk about it.
All right. So let's hear it. I'm part of the anime community, black anime community, especially part of the Twitter anime community and the anime spaces. And for the most part, I stay quiet on this topic because, like, I fit a lot of and it's one of those ones that everybody has an opinion about. But I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Dragon Ball Z is still solid. I don't care what anybody says.
Thank you, bro.
And here's the thing. Anytime I talk to anybody like in anime, we talk about Dragon Ball Z, and I tell them, I say, look, I get it. If you're talking about like the most emotional anime, Dragon Ball Z is not that. If you talk about like the deepest, most thought-provoking storyline, Dragon Ball Z is not that. But whatever that same feeling you get when you're at a sports arena or when you're at a game or you're at a live concert, when you watch Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super, you still feel that for those fights. And so it's like everybody always trying to slam on Dragon Ball. I'm like, bro, it still goes. It still brings in people to the theaters. It still does numbers. And them fights still be exciting.
They slap. To this day, they still smoke,
to
bro.
To this day.
My favorite thing I love to say about this with Dragon Ball Z is it might not have did it the best, but it damn sure might have done it first. Yeah. Niggas need to get that shit the credit that it deserves, bro. A lot of the shit that y'all love and respect and appreciate about anime, that shit don't happen if Dragon Ball Z did not do it first.
Right. And so, so like I said, I let people usually just get your shit off. You do your thing. But I'm often like, look, they announced the new Dragon Ball Super episodes. I'm gonna be geek for it, bro.
Hey, bro. In the name of geeks and shit, I feel like this is a great segue into the whole Geek Set podcast, if we could.
Yeah.
So, like, talk to me about this. So, on my end, I want to talk about my first introduction to Young Deuces. Let's start there. Okay. First time I ran into you, I'd heard about you on the timelines and stuff, and I knew you was popping in that sense. Like, not popping in a sense, but like more so like you're a great guy is what I'm getting at. Okay. Goes to DreamCon. Randomly goes to the I think I'm walking out and about or somebody. I see a nigga with drags walking in the fall. I'm like, nigga, ain't that Young Deuces right there? I go up to you casually and I'm like, yo, you Young Deuces, right? You like, hey, I introduced myself, it's all cool. Very much nice, bro. You could have been like big league on me or whatever, but you didn't do it, and I appreciate every bit of that. It felt very much like, all right, yo, this nigga seemed like a solid nigga to talk to. We had a small conversation for a second. Yeah. It was right before the Anime After Dark showing.
Oh, okay, bad.
Yeah, It was right before the Anime After Dark showing. You were standing there in the fold before they was letting niggas in. Chopped it up with you. It was a smooth conversation. Always in my head at that point, I'm like, all right, I gotta go look into the Geek Set and Young Deuces to see what we talking about over here.
Yeah.
Then as shit starts moving and maneuvering, I think the one thing that made me jump in and really gravitate more was the interview you did with I fuck her name up all the time. Wolf Tyler?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. That was the one where I was like, yo, let me key in and see what's going on. Very much well done. The interviews and everything, the quality you put into that shit is very much impressive. I want to know how Geek Set comes to be to get to that point.
Man, so you know what? First things first, I want to address. I'm glad that we had that interaction. You know, one of the things that I try to normalize and just try to make sure, like, no matter where people are at in life, like, you know what I'm saying, like, this culture is just a dope culture, right? So everybody, there's, to me, I don't see hierarchy, I don't see tiers, anything like that, right? So if somebody takes the moment to be like, yo, what up, hey, are you such and such? Like, you know, in my head, I'm like, yo, you even know about my property and who I am? Like that was crazy enough for me. So it was like, I look at every interaction like that, and that kind of came from, you know, me doing music and everything. One of the things, and this is going to get into Geek Set, but like one of the biggest DJs out in the South, his name was DJ Latin Prince, right? He used to work for Warner Brothers and everything. He used to run this collective called the Bum Squad DJs. Right. So this is back when people used to post all their stuff on forum boards and message boards. So I remember I come in hot, you know, me and my niggas, we from Milwaukee, we the coldest niggas ever, blah, 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 you know what I'm saying? Hey, y'all should rock with us, right? So luckily, like I said, he got past all that bravado and he was like, bro, y'all music is dope. And, you know what I'm saying? Y'all got some stuff y'all got to work on and everything. I rock with y'all. He said, but coming in like that and to this collective of DJs is not going to get you the desired results that you want. He said, you need to build with these people past just, hey, play my record. Right. And I was like, you know, and he told me that on early. So every interaction that I had with DJs and, like, you know, DJs that know my music and who know me, of, you know, they all can test like, yo, we got a solid relationship with Young Deuces and them, because like, yeah, we would chop it up with people and then we would record so much music and be in the studio so much that, like, and then, like I said, I adapted to the internet very fast, so I had like downloaded an app where I can record drops. So now any DJ on the timeline, like, yo, I'm doing this mixtape, I need a drop right now, I'm recording it on my phone, sending it to them. But then we also have so many records that I'm like, look, this is gonna be an exclusive for you. Now, we didn't make it exclusively for them, but it was like we was just recording so much that we had so much in the backlog.
That shit in the top.
Yeah, so now and then we built that, right? And so a lot of that continued those relationships because so many people start doing more and more things. Whereas, like, to this day, I got people that I've never met, or I may have met at a DJ conference once or twice, but we got like a lifelong, you know, relationship based off of that, right? So when it came down to, like, when podcasting was just popping off, I'm talking about when it was like Tax Stone and, you know, Joe Budden, you know, I'll name this podcast later. Yeah, so it was like when it was just like not as many, I was like, ooh, man, I want to do a podcast, right? But I couldn't get any of my homies to do a podcast with me, right? And I'm like, I know that it takes a lot to do a podcast by yourself. So I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for that task. So I kind of let that fall down. And it was going to be a general hip hop podcast because I love hip hop on every coast, every era, right? Mm-hmm. So then a couple of probably like 7 to like 10 months later, I'm like, yo, I still got this itch to do this podcast, but I'm like, now there's so many hip hop general topic podcasts. I'm like, I don't want to be same in the fold. So I'm like, well, what else am I excited about? And I was like, well, I love like anime, comic books, and, you know, nerd culture. Now, and what's funny is at this point, I didn't even know what a blurred was at that moment, right? I just knew that I like this stuff, right? So I put out a Facebook message like, yo, I'm thinking about doing this podcast, right? And I'm like, this is what I want to do. And so then one of my guys replied back, and then somebody tagged my other guy, Bacardi, in it. And at that point, I'm like, well, I already know them through music. So I was like, let's go ahead and start it here, right? So the first night before the podcast, we had some steaks, had some whiskey. We kind of chopped it up on what we was going to do. We was coming up with names, and we came up with Geek Set because we was like, look, we're not going to stray away from hip hop because all of us is hip hop as fuck. I'm talking about boom bap to trap to the snap wave to the crunk era. Like, we all embodied all of that. So it was like, we're still going to talk about it. But I was like, but yeah, we want to talk about these comic books and this anime and these video games and all these other things, right? So at that point, it was just our whole niche was let's just show people that Black people enjoy this stuff, right? Because remember, we was still at that step where we thought it was still had to be covered because we didn't really identify with the blerd culture yet.
Yeah.
So as we're doing it and we're just living in it, because of who I am as a person, I constantly research anything that I'm in. So I'm like, okay, there got to be other podcasts there because us calling ourselves the only podcast that blend hip hop culture and geek culture. That was truly more like the Lil Wayne aspect of calling himself best rapper
alive. Yep.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, we knew that there was more out there. So as I started finding more and finding more and finding more and finding more, I'm like, yo, this is like, there's a whole lot, right? And we started going to conventions and I was like, man, it's crazy how Black people hit conventions versus how the normal person hit a convention. Because I'm like, when I'm seeing it, I'm like, all right, yo, get the camera, let's get down. I'm talking to the people, doing live interviews and I'm just seeing other podcasts and publications there. And I'm just like, you guys are limiting yourself on how you're doing this press. So like that was our big draw, was doing that, right? And then at some point, and this is where the biggest change happened and what really changed our life with Geekset was when the pandemic hit. Because our big thing was we're podcasting every 2 weeks and we're going to conventions. That was our main thing, right? And when the pandemic hit, I was like, dang, we're not going to be able to go to conventions anymore. And I was like, so what are we going to do? And it was like, let's not miss a step. So then I created the one-on-one with Deuces so I could start doing interviews and I could start interviewing people. We had our toy review show, we had our anime rewatch show, and so we was like, all right, let's do that, right? And so in that realm of doing that, we started doing that, started getting bigger and bigger guests, and I'm like, I need to make sure I promote to the people who will be interested in this because I'm getting conversations from people that is like, yo, these are legends in this game, and we're giving them flowers, and they're telling stories, and I'm like, but a lot of people are not going to, understand these stories unless they're part of this culture. Yep. So when I started finding about the blerd culture and everything like that, and started finding all these people on Twitter and all these other Facebook groups and started learning what blerd was, and I'm like, yo, this is crazy because this is literally what we are. Mm-hmm. And our mission became, outside of us just showing that Black people like this stuff, was we want to amplify voices, because then as I started finding all these other podcasts, I became fans of everybody, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, they doing dope shit, but nobody is covering it. Nobody is saying, yo, look what Hub Taku did, or yo, look at what my senpai at Dream. Like, it's like all these people were doing so many dope things, and I was like, you know what? That is our new thing, right? We was like, we want to give people that celebrity treatment, whereas like we bring you onto our platform, we gonna celebrate you, we gonna talk about your accomplishments. You know what, this dope cosplayer, this person, they're not only just a dope cosplayer, let's get into their life story, and let's just amplify. But then also this celebrity that you love for being this big action star, let me give you a little bit of insight about this person who they love this deep-rooted anime that came out in 1987, and you're like, oh my god, yo, I rock with that too, like that's a classic. And now you learn something about one of your favorite actors or actresses or whatever that you didn't know before. And that became our sole mission with everything with Geekset. It's like, yes, we are within the culture, but we want to be the breakfast club of the culture. We want to be the place that people go to celebrate. You know what I'm saying? You do something dope and you're like, yo, okay, I know if I drop it on the timeline, people are going to talk about it. But if I want to do a long form conversation and just really be, talk about it and go in depth, I need to go to Geekset. Or this actor who's like, yo, you know what? I'm about to do this movie and got anime inspiration. And I know that, certain people are going to rock with it. But I know if I talk to Geekset, I'm talking straight to the culture. And so it's like, it became that.
It's like that. Almost like in a sense, like, bro, I got a new album I just made. Back in the day where niggas used to have to run to the labels and stuff, or like run to the radio stations that had that shit played. Like, you had to sit down with, like you said, a breakfast club with somebody. You had to talk about that shit, let that spin, and then niggas like was really letting you know if it's hot or not. And then that's how that shit took off. So like, it's cool to see that that's still a component, but it's like utilized differently, say like on the internet, or it's utilized differently in different cultures. Like you talk about cosplayers and stuff. It's not like you're acting as a standard. You're giving people the opportunity to show like, yo, I know I'm this great cosplayer. I know I'm this great musician, but also I'm really into baseball. Let's talk about that. Or like, fam, I'm really into Dragon Ball Z, just like you said earlier. Let's get to it.
Like, that's why I love this, because having conversations with people like this, man, like it's been really dope because, I I interviewed Hannah Hall from The Shy. You know, she plays Tiff on The Shy, right? And come to find out, like, she is a deep rooted like gamer. I'm talking about, you know, Final Fantasy and stuff like that, right? So then she talked about that on my podcast interview. No other place are she's talking about that, right? So it's like when there was an article that did like top 15 things you didn't know about Hannah Hall, there was multiple geeky things that was only said on my podcast. That was like, and she said on the Geek Set podcast. And to me, that is what the dopeness of it is. Like, you know what I'm saying? I had Jay Ellis on my podcast, and he talked about he wants to be Blue Marvel. Nowhere else are you going to get him talking about Blue Marvel. But also, when that conversation happened, it was funny because when I was doing the interview, we talked about it, and then I was going to go to a next question. He was like, "Hey, wait, let's go back to that Green Lantern thing point real quick, right?" But that, you know, when we be in those Twitter spaces, that's how it be. It was like, wait a minute, let me get my shit off. So, like, and I was like, raised. Right, and I love that because it's like, you know, now that's the draw. It's like, if you come, and I think that's why I've been so successful in being able to get guests, is that these celebrities go to all these publications and they say the exact same thing everywhere because, you know, it's trained. That's media trained. But now you get this pocket of something that you love that you may only have one or two people that you chop it up with about in your personal life. Like, wait a minute, I get to talk about this in the public, and
I'm get my shit off.
Right, and there's also people that are going to be like either talk about it or debate it. Like, oh yeah, and you know what I'm saying. And I think that's what I love about geek culture, blurred culture in general, because it's like, everybody has that fandom, that one point, that hot take or that game that nobody can beat them in. And I was like, let's talk about that. Like, because we are you're going to talk about that movie everywhere else, but let's talk about what stuff that you just like you love. Like, you know what? Hey, Street Fighter 2. Nobody's seeing me if I pick Gal. Like, you know what I'm saying? I like when somebody has that type of passion around something.
Yo, I could tell just from this conversation, you really enjoy this shit. Like, you really enjoy having these. This doesn't feel like you forcing yourself. You feel like you just going through the motions of doing interviews with people. Like, you thoroughly enjoy talking to people about their stuff. Like, that's impressive.
Thanks, man.
My thing also to that point is like, do you ever feel like, as a fellow interviewer, you ever like feel that joy or like that game of like you said, talking to somebody and they do the media training, they got their same little 5 notes that they speak to, that you could break them and talk about like that 6 thing in their head, like, oh damn, we wasn't about to start talking about goddamn Chainsaw Man, but let's get to it.
Right. Well, I think it also comes with research, man. Like, early on, and this is where I took a personal, like, oh, yo, this is pretty dope, right? When one of my first biggest interviews was Kev on Stage, right?
Shout out Kev on Stage.
Shout out Kev on Stage, man. He did a lot for just like helping me out with certain things. But when I interviewed him, and this is to me was the moment where I realized, like, oh, not only is research good, but also the presentation. I'm chopping it up with him now. You know, at that moment, it was a favor how I got him, right? We had a mutual. So he was like, yo, I'm just rocking with you. And he was like, he was definitely very respectful, but he was like, clearly you're doing this for a favor, right? But the one thing about Kev on Stage is that he does his research as well. You know? And so, but I just so happened to catch him in the midst of working where he was doing his research while he was there, right? So in like 10 minutes within the interview, he's like, I'll rock with y'all, man. He was like, yo, I like what y'all doing. You know, I got the glimpse of it. He's like, I'm about to subscribe to your page now, right? So I'm seeing him doing it. He's like, I see the video. And then he's like, yo, look at the intro. He's like, oh, you got the music. Like, and he was like the layout, right? So he had this whole moment in that moment, right? And to me, what was super dope was, prior to that interview, this is when the pandemic first hit too, right? Yeah. All Def was doing a whole lot of things on Zoom. But what they were doing was, it was just the pictures and black background. They had no overlay, no graphic. Yep. After that interview with Kev, literally a lot changed at All Def. And
niggas got their production up.
They got their production. And I know that, to me, that was what started me and Kev's relationship, where I can reach out to him and he's going to respond back. Or he's going to, you know what I'm saying? Because I think at that moment he said, yo, this is somebody who was really serious about their stuff. Yes, I did this as a favor, but you know what? I rock with him. You know what I'm saying? To the point where just look 4 or 5 weeks ago when he came to Milwaukee, he came to my studio and we did an in-studio thing. That's, you know what I'm saying? Him, Tahir, and comedian Mel Mitchell. Shout out to them. But it was like, you know what I'm saying, got to be able to see that to the point where it's like, and I was like, that's that presentation. That's that being prepared and being there, right? So now what I do is when I interview people, like I do good research. I'm researching your Twitter, seeing things
Yep.
that you say, seeing things that you're saying, like, yo, this is my favorite, this is my top. So when I bring it up, like I always love that moment where somebody's like, yo, wait, where did you get that from? Like,
It's like full on Nardwar almost in a sense.
Yeah.
That should be the best feeling ever. Like,
It do.
oh my god, I don't know. Like, I just love every bit about that shit. I'm fresh and new. Like, I'm still getting my feet wet in the interviewing game per se, but like I can see why you have so much passion behind this. I can see why you have so much passion to put like effort into the product. So it's always important for me to be looking at people like you, like, all right, they doing this. Like, this seems like this works. This seems like maybe it don't work. I maybe need to do extra research on that front. So I want to make sure you know, like, you don't need me to say it, but like just keep knowing on that side that niggas is looking at you like, bro, you are one of the bars of that shit, and they trying to follow and they trying to like make their shit on par with the stuff that you creating.
Oh man, appreciate that, bro. Because like I never look at myself like that. Like, you know, because like here's my whole thing was, and this is why I make sure I big up other people as well. Because my whole thing is like, in order for a culture to progress, like it can't be one.
Yep.
You know, and see, and I love the culture, right? And so my whole thing is that I want to get put in a position of power where I can help other people see their, you know what I'm saying, they're like their full potential, or being able to even just being able to help people out, right? Because I love seeing people do things at a top tier, and then I'm like, I want to be the change that I want to see. I want to make sure that it's normalized that people give people their flowers. You know what I'm saying? I tell you know what I'm saying, GB and them all the time, like, bro, there's very rare people that can do what y'all do. You know what I'm saying? I was like, y'all are killing it here, right? You know what I'm saying? There's people that I talk to in other facets, the people who do like the Instagram lives. I'm like, yo, like, you know what I'm saying? And you got to think, like, yes, we are all within the same blurred culture. But it was like, just because somebody is excellent in one field don't mean that you can't be excellent in another field, right? So when, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'm holding my bar up against, like, I'm looking at like what we're doing, because we create everything you see on Geek-Set, from the layout, the overlay, the intro. That's all me and my team. But like the reason why I looked at it, and again, I'm looking at the Joe Rogans and the Heartbeat Production podcast and T-Pain podcast, and I'm like, yo, this is what they doing. I want to do that for blurred culture, and I think that that's where my mindset always goes. It's never, I want to do this more than this person. It's like, oh, if that's what they're doing for that culture, I want to bring that to blurred culture so we can do this, right? You know, so it's like that's how I look at it all the time. I'm like, yo, this is dope, because, and then I'm a person that envisions working with other people. It's not Geek-Set got to do it. It's like, you know, it's like, oh, if Geek-Set gets this is how I can expand the culture. I'll tell you this, one of my biggest dreams, or that I'm going to do when a major magazine reach out, because like I believe Geek-Set is going to get to a point where a magazine is going to say, we want to cover you front cover, right? But my goal is like, when they do that, tell them, the editor, like, hey, if you want to make this bigger, this is what you want to do. And I want to do a XXL style cover where it's like Geek-Set. I'm like, bring RDC World, go get King Vader, go get, you know what I'm saying, Kiera Please, go get Crystal Chanel, put us all on the cover, and then we all talk about blurred culture, you know, stuff like that. Like, that's something that I want to do in life, that I always say that once I get that opportunity, because I want to help the culture move, not just Geek-Set. Right. Yeah.
Like, it starts, and that's the thing, like, bro, that humility and just wanting to move the full-on culture in itself, instead of just putting yourself on Front Street, I think it's important for the sake of even getting your shit going. Like, the whole point of Hubtaku is like, we are here to put resources in for other people so that they can succeed and they can be the ones that, like, we want to Master Roshi this shit. GB was the one who coined that. When I explained Hubtaku to him, he like, yo, you really the Master Roshi this shit right now. And it's important. Like, that shit is important to be able to have somebody in your corner wanting to see you win, wanting to see the best for you. So it's cool to think like, yo, damn, 2023, 2024, it's Geek-Set right there with some bros with like Burleezy and them over there. You got an RDC in the tuck. Like, not even on some freshman list shit, because it's not even like freshman list. It's like, y'all niggas is out here.
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't even have to be a freshman list or a yearly thing. But like again, my major thing is like every time that we do something as a culture, like we always said, like that's what started the whole Blurs On series. That shout out to my guy Bacardi, man. Bacardi Sensei, part of the Geek Set podcast. He came up with the idea when Forbes magazine interviewed us.
Yep.
He came up with a shirt called Blurs and Forbes, because what happened was, when they reached out to interview us, we went to, because again, we think about the collaborative effort. So I'm like, all right, Forbes. I'm like, who else have Forbes covered that are blurred? We typed in blurred. There's no mention of blurred on Forbes until our interview. So we did the blurs on Forbes, right? And we was like, we want to do the blurs on because it's like, we could have did Geek Set in Forbes, but no, this is blurred. This is for blurred culture.
It's bigger than Geek Set.
Yeah, and so then, you know what I'm saying, when I got the gig at Watch Mojo, he was like, I'm gonna do a blurs. We did a blurs on Watch Mojo, because when you search it, there's 2 writers that are black. I'm the only American black voice actor on Watch Mojo.
Watch Mojo, yo, that's a fact. And Watch Mojo is one of my favorite channels to follow and watch, just because personally, I'm a big sucker for like conspiracy theories and things of that nature. Big sucker for that shit. So like, when you posted that link that first, I want to back up a couple things. Couple flowers you need to get in a sense. Let's start from the fucking Family Matters video y'all did recently for the Geek Set podcast. Fire. Niggas need to put more respect on that video, because that shit was amazing. Fast forwarding in a bit to the point where you said you want to do that full video, the vibe, not vibe, I'm sorry. You want to do the full the cover. Yeah, the cover aspect with like a bunch of blurs and shit. I don't know if you remember this, but do you remember years ago in New York, they had a picture of pretty much just a bunch of hip hop artists and stuff from all the boroughs? That would be fire. That would be a fire aspect. Like, yo, bro, you really bringing the blurred. Words is fucking me up today, nigga.
But I get what you're saying. But see, that's the thing. Like, that's when I told you, like, I'm a fan of it. Like, man, I be looking at it like, you know what I'm saying? Like, the way that Kara Please does these conventions of just asking these questions, I'm like,
yep, hilarious,
bro, unmatched. Crystal Chanel's energy, like when you see her and when she talks, like ridiculous, you know, like GB and them, you know, every Thursday night in Anime After Dark, like it's a whole movie, right? And it was like there's so many people, you know what I'm saying, from Poodle to, you know what I'm saying, to like there's so many people that's within our culture. And like one of the things that I hold high in my blurred career was when we did the Black History Month project. Because that's what really introduced me to a lot of people. Because at that point, when I started getting introduced to the Twitter space, I said, you know what? I said, I want to do something dope. And I said, I couldn't think of what I wanted to do. And then I remember I was doing some research for Black History Month, and I was going to YouTube and I was typing in, what does Black History Month mean to you? And I was like, out of all these videos, I'm not seeing any black company. I'm seeing Complex doing it, right? I'm seeing, you know, just name any company. But I'm just like, and though I appreciate them having black people on there, but I was like, how come there's no black-led company that does it? So like, I was like, you know,
BET, I don't even know if you consider that a black-led company,
right? But so I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it. But I'm like, but what's my draw? I said, yo, blurred culture. I said, I'm gonna reach out to as many blurs as I can across the world, and I'm telling them, hey, I just need 15 minutes of your time. I'm gonna ask you 3 questions and you answer it, right? And I got so many people, right, all over, and we put it together. And then Black Girl Nerds was posting in, and then, you know, just getting more and more people. And I was like, yo, this is dope, because it's what does Black History Month mean to you from the blurred community. I felt like that was one of my introduction. Let's introduce all these people, because the work that went into getting all those people was dope, because I had a lot of conversations just chopping it up with people.
Just shooting the shit.
Yep. But what I did was, when we sent it out, as far as promoting it, I made sure everybody's @ name was in the description. Everybody's @ name was in the press release, because I said, more than anything, I want, when you hear what these people have to say, I don't care if it's 1 or 2 people, but if you leave there saying, yo, hey, Vonnie kind of dope, like, let me see what's more about him, I want you to be able to find him. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, to me, that was extremely dope to be able to get that together. But again, and that was like what, 2-3 months before DreamCon. So I had that, and then Forbes the next month announced that we was doing the Black Geek documentary, and then we went to DreamCon and got to meet everybody, and it was just like, yo, this has been a dope segment of just trying to get introduced to the blurred culture and letting people know who we are, what we want to do, and how we're here to support y'all.
That's a fact, bro. You had an amazing 2022 run. Like that shit in the community, the bubble that we in right now, like not a lot of niggas is doing shit like that. I want to make sure you know that right now. And then that cultivates and gets to the point where it's like Watch Mojo comes up and now you got that lockdown. Like, do you feel comfortable walking us through how Watch Mojo comes through, approaches you, and how you get that sealed and delivered?
Yeah, no, I tell people all the time, you need to get comfortable with no's, right? And also get out of your way of thinking that you can't shoot your shot in different ways. Because here's the thing, like a lot of people, that's what stops a lot of ambitious ideas. You say you have this idea of what you want to do, and then you think about all the ways that it won't happen. And then it gets into a lot of people's way of progress. Me, I'm a person of, I believe that I can do anything given the opportunity. And I truly like live off of that. So getting these interviews in general helped me prepare to get with the Watch Mojo, because with the interviews, I figured out how to reach out to people's managers and things like that, and how to pitch and how to talk about it and talk a good game. But like a lot of the times, it's really just I'm shooting my shot. I done reached out to everybody in Hollywood to do one-on-one with Deuces. I get a lot of no's, but then I get some yeses, and I capitalize off those yeses. So one time, I'm like, yo, I'm going over my goals, and I'm like, look, I got goals, right, that I want to do. I said the thing about the magazine. I said, yo, I would love to voice a Watch Mojo video. And I had all these things, right? So then shout out to Rebecca, the main voice lady on the pretty much Watch Mojo lady. Right. She reached out and she was like, hey, I can help you out with one of those goals. Would you like to do a list? And I was like, sure, bet, right? So right off the rip. So as we do the list, I knock out the list, and then, you know what I'm saying, she reached out, she said, hey, she said, you did really great. I don't know if this was just a one-time thing or what. I'm like, no. I was like, look, I have been doing voice acting for the last year and a half. I was like, I'm trying to get more and more experience and everything like that. So I would love to do more. She was like, well, we would like to bring you on as a contracted voice actor. So like literally shot my shot, and then I showed up because, like I said, I have all the equipment. I have my studio, I have my mic. So when I'm able to get them back to her fast, and so you know that onboarding process. And again, of course, because me of the culture, I told her, like, this is where I feel the value at Watch Mojo, but I also feel like they're committed to just, you know, helping out the culture in general. Because up until that point, the way that Watch Mojo ran was Watch Mojo, they new video out, you subscribe, you're going to see the video. They may post on a little bit on social media, but what they didn't have, or at least what I didn't see, was the voice actors themselves promoting it like a new post. Hey, this is this, right? So I told her, I said, hey, I want to let you know that like when I post, I'm going to post, and there's going to be a lot of people retweeting, a lot of likes and everything like that. I said the blurred community is going to rally behind it. And I was like, I just want to make sure I ain't stepping on no toes. She was like, yeah. She was like, most of all of our people on Watch Mojo are writers, directors, producers, right? So they voice act to help out, but she was like, you are our first actual like
designated talent.
Like talent, right? And so I was like, all right, cool. I was like, because I got a lot of ideas, you know. And so Rebecca's so dope, you know what I'm saying? Because like she's kind of like my unofficial vocal coach. So like she's helping me with mic control, she's helping me with words and how to say things and how to, you know, make sure you add that volume there or you change your pitch here, right? But like she allows me to bounce ideas off her. She allows me to ad lib on some of these lists. So I like the fact that, like, you know, with her, I'm like, you know, once I get part of something, I'm a part of something. So I know I'm not supposed to be in those comments, but I be in them comments. I be looking at it and everything like that. And so, like, I literally just told him, I said, hey, one of the main things I see is somebody like, hey, didn't they do this list already? So I was like, so here's like 60 new top 10 things that I didn't see y'all do yet. And she was like, man, that's crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Or they were like, yo, we want to do this time. Like, they got all these ideas for the culture. And I feel like a lot of people in this creator space, we all have ideas. What we need is that somebody that's gonna, all right, let's do this, right? So it's like there's certain things that I'm pretty sure is not going to come out to the middle of 2024 that I did for Watch Mojo, because they was like, we kind of got this idea. I'm like, bet, let me try that. Knock it out. They get in there like, all right, well, we not ready to put it out yet. But I'm just like, hey, let's keep on going. I was like, whatever y'all got, it's like they putting out an idea, and again, this is somewhere that I feel value, but it's like, yo, I've been watching y'all for so long, and now I'm a part of y'all. And not only am I a part of y'all, I feel value because y'all are taking some of the things that I say, y'all are crediting me for it. You know what I'm saying? Y'all are giving me my props. Y'all, it's just like it's been a really great, dope experience working with them right now.
Bro, I can only imagine. And the cooler part about this, the most important, like the fact that you're even able to go to Rebecca and have those conversations and it not feel like, all right, Rebecca's doing this, but she don't got my best interests at heart. Like she telling me all this, give me all this coaching, show me all the ropes and stuff, but really she not really showing me everything I need to know because she feel threatened about her shit. Like it really feel like a safe environment for everybody to eat together as a unit.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a person that I'm gonna lay my cards right out on the bat, because what it was is at first I was sending her, like, I was trying to make sure I was sending her all the clearest takes ever. So for one thing is that, like, if somebody stick their neck out for me, I hold that at a high regard, right? So I was like, she had reached out to me, she had brought me on. I'm like, I'm pretty sure she reports to somebody. So I'm like, all right, I need to make sure that I am doing her justice, because she was like, yo, I brought this, you know what I'm saying, this rapper from Twitter who also does podcasting on board. So I'm like, I got to make sure I show up. Yep. So, I'm sending her the cleanest takes as possible. But anybody who knows, who does voice acting or anything like that, there's a lot of back and forth. Like, can you clean up that line? Can you do that line? Can you do that? Right. But and she was like, hey, just send me the raw files. I'll go through them and everything like that. So she's showing me that ropes and everything like that. But then I told her why. I'm like, oh yeah, I was just trying to do this, make it easier. And she was like, no, just be cool. And then one of the biggest mind openers was she sent me her takes. She sent me a list that she did. So I'm hearing how, there's certain things that stumble people up and how you just kind of go through it. But when you hear the final product with the editors and everything, you're right. So I was like, all right, so I'm trusting the team. But that's also new for me because, in this content creation space, it's me and my guys. And we are all teaching each other. Versus having where this role, I am a voice actor. They send me the script. I can add my little bits in, add my ad-libs, but I'm sending them script back. And once they approve of the vocal portion of it, that's it. I don't have to do the editing. I don't have to do any of that. That's all them. And it's like, yo, this is new, but this is really dope because it's still a collaborative effort. But it's just like my role is very, very controlled. Where it's not on my normal every day.
Right. And to that point, like what you said actually just strung an idea and thought in my head. It's like, fam, the energy, the information that you're taking in from, say, like a Watch Mojo, taking in from just all the stuff, we don't really ever have like guidance on how to go about that shit or where to go, who to talk to, like what's right and what's wrong in that sense. And it's like, it's important to have people like that and people like you, honestly, who are getting that information from these corporations like a Watch Mojo or somebody, and you divvying it up to your niggas and shit. Hey, bro, when that shit come, this is what you look out for. You ain't gotta worry about this right here. That's not really that big a deal. But this right here, this is the most major aspect. Niggas don't talk about that, bro. The resources that need to be like filtered through this community in itself are few and far between. But we appreciate people like you who do that shit, and appreciate people like you who show like, hey, you look like me. You could also be in this position too. Let me help you get to that point.
And that's the biggest thing. There's so many people in this world that's going to tell people what they can't do, or that it's too late to hop into this, or like, nah, that's not practical, right? And I said I would never be that person. Like, I'm that person no matter what your dream is. If you tell me about it, I'm gonna support it. And then later on, if I talk to you later on, I'm like, hey, yo, what's good with that thing, bro? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, follow up, because I know that, like, there's a lot of people that journey. It's a hard journey, man. And like, and one thing that you said, and I literally had this conversation with shout out Will Ferrell from All Def. You know what I'm saying? He became like a really dope, you know what I'm saying, a peer of mine that I can chop it up with a lot. I do stuff with him on his Straight Out of a Comic Book series. But I was telling him, I said, bro, the hardest part about this industry is, I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. There's no social media people here like that, you know what I'm saying? So I don't have a OG. I don't have a big bro that I can bounce information off of. And because of my thought process, and this is something that Will kind of told me, like, hey, you got to kind of get out your head about that. I told you at the beginning that like I could reach out to Kev on stage, he'll respond back. Right.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? To hear more, I can reach out to him, he'll respond back. You know what I'm saying? Like I got certain people that's in this industry that I can potentially reach out to. But I'm mindful of people's time.
Yep.
And so I'm like, I don't really want to bother them about this and everything like that. But it's funny because nobody has given me energy to let me say they feel like I'm a bother. You know what I'm saying? But it's like it's something that I'm working on, that there's more people that's willing to help, because I'm willing to help, but it's just I'm vocal about it. And because of my, I'm gonna say like a little bit of insecurity of that rejection, knowing that, right? I make sure that for other people, I'm just offering up. Like if I catch a hint that you need a little bit of more information, I'm gonna give it to you instead of waiting for you to ask, because I know that in my head you may be thinking like how I'm thinking, like man, I want to ask.
I want to ask. Yeah. Like I see him standing over there, and I kind of want to talk to him real quick, but I don't want to be that guy.
Like it's, you know what I'm saying? Like it's funny because like I've done work with a couple of people where, like I said, every time I hit them up, they're like, cool, I got it. Or like, hey, you know what? I don't got the time to do this right now. You know what I'm saying? So I can't, right? But so it's never been anything negative. But like my introduction every time, like, hey man, hey, just, you know what I'm saying? Just, if you got a little bit of time, just want to
I mean, I want to put it in, but
like I remember one of my homegirls, like the matter of fact, the one who helped me get Kev on stage. I've known her for like 15 plus years, just on the internet. We never met. She was a DJ. Yeah, I sent her music. She's gonna send feedback on me and my cousin's music. Like, just super cool person. And when I was doing the interviews, I'm like, all right, I know that she knows Kev because she works with him. I'm like, so, you know, I'm hitting her. Now, this is somebody, like I said, we've talked back and forth just 15 years, just chopping up on music, on the timeline, whatever like that. And I'm like, hey, man, so like, you know what I'm saying? I know you know Kev on stage and everything. She literally wrote back, nigga, what do you need? I was like, I mean, I just want to see if I can get him on the interview or something like that. She was like, all right, hit him in there. Within 30 minutes, we was able to lock it back up. But it's always hand in hat. And it's always
like, please, sir, can I have some more? Like, bro, that shit crazy, bro. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna keep it a stack with you right now. Even as like reaching out to you, asking you to do this interview right now, I was initially kind of like, yo, I don't really want, you know what I mean? Because I know he got a lot going on, and that's 60 minutes of his time. He could be spending that shit doing something. You immediately was like, yup, here we go, boom. Like, nigga, no, I'm gonna even double up on that. The testament shit. You one day tweeted on Twitter, you said, hey, bro, I'm in the studio right now. I think you had something going on, but like it fell through. You was like, hey, bro, if a nigga need drops or whatever, I got you for the free ski. Let me know. I slides up and like, yo, can I get one for Hubtaku? And you gave me 2 shits back. Perfect. Immaculate. And I'm like, that shit don't, like, bro, that shit like that goes a long way, especially for a nigga like me personally. Like, you want to talk about holding things in high regard. Like, I take stuff like that because I just don't like asking anybody for anything at all. So if somebody's coming back to me just even remotely kind of showing like, yo, bro, here, bro, like not everybody's out to see you worse off. Like, things like that, I wish more people in our community kind of saw and was able to experience. So it's appreciative that there's at least one person out there right now today that's telling niggas like, yo, bro, you need this information? Bro, I see you need this information. I'm going to give you this information right now. So thank you for that shit.
No doubt, bro. You know, it's one of the things that I was like, again, I live by that. I want to be the change that I want to see. When I was doing the Black History Program thing, right, and I think that this is something that, you know, you also got to show and prove. After every interview that I did, now again, that one, I think we had over 35 people, right? After every person that I spoke with, I said, look, I just need you to know that I don't care how small it is, even if you need me to like, retweet, comment, slide in my DMs, tell me to do that, and I got you. I said, if I see it on the timeline, I'm going to automatically try to do it. But if I miss it, and I was like, because I want that to be normalized. I want people to be okay with saying, hey, yo, Deuces, yo, hey, I'm trying to get this popping. Can you do that, right? And so I make sure I do that, right? To the point where people, I'm like, look, you don't even got to say words. Just drop it in. I got you. Because I was like, it's weird. Because, you know, I've experienced people where it's like, yo, I just need an engagement on this post. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm thinking. And it just seems like people hold that like button or commenting or putting emoji so close, and it's like, bro, just let it fly. Like, I don't know why people like it's so weird about liking and retweeting, you know what I'm saying, or commenting on stuff. So I was like, I make it a point, if I see my peoples do something, I'm gonna like it, I'm gonna retweet it, I'm gonna throw some fire emojis, I'm gonna throw a gif, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna engage with it, because it's like, yes, in this world, engagement is so important, and that small like and that small retweet means so much because it helps out. Because sometimes there's a lot of people who's like, how many likes is on that? All right, they only got 2 now. I ain't gonna like, you know what I'm
50
saying?
views.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So it's like, you know what I'm saying, and again, for me, it also helps me remain a fan of people, because it's like, me, I'm a person that I'm gonna give you that like, I'm gonna give you that retweet, you know what I'm saying, but I'm also, let me check it out, let me see what it is, you know what I'm saying. If your podcast episode hour, I may not be able to listen to the whole hour, but I'm gonna listen to like a good 15-20 minutes just to, you know what I'm saying, like, okay, yeah, you know what I'm saying, so that way you can calculate, I'm gonna drop something in there, you know, it's something, and that comes from watching All Def so close. I'm, you know, over the pandemic, I got really close with the All Def crew. You know what I'm saying? A lot of it comes from just watching them on Zooming with the homies and everything. But this is where, and I try to call myself the people champ in that realm of people because of this. So during the pandemic, I'm watching to hear Zooming with the homies. I'm watching the All Def stuff. I'm watching Patrick Cloud, and man, I'm watching all this stuff, and they would do everything on YouTube and the live in the comments, right? So we in the comments, and they have the Discord. So I'm jumping in the Discord, right? So, you know, just like anime Twitter, we all start to know each other a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, okay. So then I'm like, but I do stuff. So I was like, I want to also share this to this hundreds of people. But I'm like, how do I do this the proper way? Because I'm a person that I don't break rules, I don't spam. You tell me this is the avenue that you promote, I'm gonna promote there. You tell me that this is the opportunity to do so, I'm gonna do so. So what ended up happening was at some point, they was doing something in one of the Discords, and I was posting some of the stuff, and then it caught Tahir's eye. So Tahir was like, look, hey, you already interviewed me, Deuces. You want to hop on Zooming with the homies? I'm like, bet. So I hop on Zooming with the homies, you know what I'm saying? And again, Zooming with the homies was clearing 2,000, 3,000 viewers a night. You know what I'm saying? So when I get there, one of their mods was like, yo, what's your emoji? Because what they do is, if you're a person that they like, they assign you emoji. So anytime that you're on anything, they spam your emoji. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know, Kev on stage, his is that slate, the movie slate. Tahir's is the whiskey drink. Patrick Cloud is the clouds. You know what I'm saying? Tony Baker was the bread. So I'm like, yo, we don't got anything. So it was like, all right, Geek Set Eagle, we're gonna give you the eagle emoji. Right. And so I was like, all right, bet. And so then we start talking, and I was like, okay, yeah, we're gonna start our Patreon. And it was like, what y'all gonna call y'all people? Because, you know, they got the stage crew, they got the Moore Mob. I'm like, all right, we're gonna call them the Eagle Scouts. So then we started using the Eagle, started calling them the Eagle Scouts. And quiet behold, anytime that I'm on anything, All Def or anything, or some of them, they follow me now. Like, anytime that I'm doing something, you'll see it in my comments, you'll see it reply to me on Twitter or on the YouTube, you'll see the Eagle emojis. And I'm just like, yo, to me, what's so dope is now that I'm working and I'm popping up on like All Def programming and stuff like that, I'm like, yo, I'm literally a person that came from the people that ascended to being able to be on screen with you guys. And I was like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I'm showing love to them, but I'm also showing love to the chat, because I'm like, yo, that's my beginnings right there. But it was like, you know, I started seeing that, and I'm like, yo, it's that level of support that you can have your crew or the people within it, you know what I'm saying, your audience supports you to that level, you know what I'm saying? And so I was like, I'm trying to get there. And I was like, I want to extend that. I want my people who love Geek Set for being blurs and hip hop culture to know about Hub Taku, to know about Animalytical, to know about, you know, Blandame. Like, I want them to be, because it's the culture, and, you know, it's the subtle things that we do. And I think what we did here, you know what I'm saying, where we're talking, where you're like, yeah, you know what I'm saying, I was talking to GB. Like, I love the fact that on Hub Taku, we can throw out names, and then people of the culture be like, oh yeah, I remember that conversation. I was there, right? And we do that on our podcast. You know, I talk about y'all like y'all are normal everyday, you know, stuff, because I want that to be normalized. You know, I say, when you listen to like Joe, like now when you listen to like Rory and Maul, Joe Budden podcast, you know, Drink Champs, all that, you know, Brilliant Idiots, they dropping names, right? You know what I'm saying? But because you are in that culture, they can drop a name about a podcast. You're like, oh yeah, that's such and such from there. I'm like, why can't we have that here in blur culture? I should be able to say I'm trying to like I should you know what? I should be able to say Cam and everybody knows exactly which Cam I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying?
It's like in Joe Budden podcast, the earlier days when everybody was still cool, like Joe Budden to say some shit like yo, Ice and Ish or something like that. And you would know thinking like, yo, that's officially Ice. I was following that nigga on Twitter for years. And then like in this space, bro, like on the Geek set, when that shit catapulting the millions and the millions viewing it, nigga be like, yo, bro, Crystal was going crazy on this, right? Like, and niggas like, oh, that's Crystal Chanel.
Yeah.
Or like, damn, you seen when Taylor throw that post up and they're like, oh, Taylor Senpai. That type of stuff. Like, it's important to keep like putting them niggas' names in the conversation consistently, consistently. So people are like, I keep seeing this name so much. Let me tap in and see what's going on over there.
Man. And you know, it helps the notoriety of every other one. You know what I'm saying? What the funniest thing is, I knew about Lakenzu before I met and even heard Lakenzu, just how notorious he was on the timeline. You know what I'm saying? So like you start hearing stuff, but it is stuff like that. It's like, yo, that's to me, that's dope. It builds this community, right? It's that community of wanting to see people and, you know, wanting to see people shine. So it's like anytime anybody reaches out to me, I'm so appreciative of it because I come from an area where it wasn't always that. I came from an area where in music, just even in general, my success was a threat to other people's success. And Blurred Culture has been the first time, especially with podcasting and just in this space, where my success didn't feel like a threat. It was uplifted, and then it helped motivate people to where I can get back. So it was like that bitterness that I had before, it never translated within this culture because I was never hit with that. And so I'm still like, oh my God, yo, this is dope. Like, hey, yo, shout out to such and such. Yeah, yo, whatever you need from me, I got you, because it's like it's still fun, it's still exciting, and it still makes sense.
Bro, people like you in this Blurred Culture, this is like from a mind state the healthiest that I've ever been in as far as just interacting with other people, considering, like you said, just talking to everybody before, not everybody wanting to see the best for you. Like you mentioned music a lot. I also make music and stuff too. So just knowing, sending people shit like, yo, what you thinking about that? They like, yeah, it's alright, but you know the shit fire. And they say, well, yeah, it's alright, because it's that level of threatening. Even just having a nigga on a song and it's like you send them their shit, they listen to it, they did their verse already, you put your verse on, now they go back, all of a sudden your verse is missing all of a sudden. Right. Or like, or like they changed their verse up, now it's different. I'm like, what happened? But I mean, it's beautiful in this space, and it's just knowing that you can go in and somebody like say Young Deuces or somebody like a Geek set or post something and it's able to be celebrated and it not feel like niggas is in the chat talking about, yeah, man, fuck that nigga, bro. Like, yeah, I know I said I rock with this, but fuck it. No. Like, it's you. What's up?
But I was gonna say, and what's fun, you kind of gotta also, you have to approach, because a lot of us come from that toxic style environment, right? So you kind of, so you kind of gotta also, you have to put in work to break down those barriers. You know what I'm saying? There's been people within this community that I know that like they like, yo, okay, Deuces coming at me with a lot of energy. I don't know how to take this, right?
Yeah.
And so, but then they realize like, oh shit, no, this is really Deuces. You know what I'm saying? And then like, because I've had that moment, and everybody, you kind of realize like you meet somebody and it feels a type of way. But then when it clicks for them and you meet them again, it's different because they're like, okay, you not what I thought. You know what I'm saying? I didn't think it was that, right? And but that's because we're not used to somebody just saying, yo, you know what I'm saying, shouting out what they like about you and genuinely saying, I rock with that. You know what I'm saying? That's foreign to a lot of us, because a lot of times we thinking like, all right, are you really saying that? Are you being sarcastic? Like, you know what I'm saying? You're trying to throw some shade, but it's like, no, I really respect what you know, whoever I'm talking to doing that. I think that that's something within this community that like we're slowly breaking down, you know what I'm saying? But it's just like, it just takes a while.
Hey, bro, and I'm glad you mentioned that. The whole like niggas telling you like, oh, I actually rock with that. That leads to the actual final part of this podcast. Is I always want to leave that space at the end of it to give niggas their flowers. And I know I'm giving you your flowers sprinkled out like a little here and a little there in the middle of it, but we gonna make sure we stop for a second and focus on it. Like, I know you mentioned earlier in this episode that you felt like you knew that you was always going to be good on this stint. Like, you knew you was that nigga in that stint. Like, it's not like you feel like you better than everybody. You just knew you were great. But sometimes I wonder if you step back and actually look at the product and stuff that you make and realize how great that shit is. Like, you being able to have like Kev on stage, Wolf Tyler, fucking J.R. Ellis, having to be able to talk. break down their walls to the point where now they feel comfortable talking to you about nerd related shit. You feel comfortable being able to do like just 15 minutes of talking to niggas. You compile that, get that shit to somebody like Forbes, and now all of a sudden a bunch of niggas is getting a lot more shine than they deserve. And that's all a testament to the work that you put in yourself. You feeling like you're able to go into these Twitter spaces on a micro level and just anime after dark and just being able to jump in there, shoot the shit, talk to niggas or whatever, and niggas look at you like, yo, that's Deuces, that yada yada, and like you being able to rock the crowd and just make people feel comfortable and all of that. Like that's important to have, and it's appreciated that niggas like you are out here doing that shit. Like, and it's all genuine. I knew that one time when we was at the Anime After Dark the panel at DreamCon. You got on stage and you shouted out that podcast, and it was like, this doesn't feel performative. This feel like this nigga is legitimately shouting out this podcast. Like you have a great energy about you as a person. You're already well spoken because we could see that. Shout out to Watch Mojo and everybody. Shout out to Geek Set Podcast and everything. But like, just all around the energy you're giving, the energy you're bringing, just the energy that I know you're gonna be giving in the future. That shit is 1,000% appreciated, and it just doesn't need to go unnoticed on that front. So I want to make sure that niggas is giving you the flowers you deserve on that front. Thank you.
Appreciate that, bro. Nah, definitely appreciate that, man. You know, it's one of those things that, like, yeah, you don't get a chance to stop back and look back at the things that you do. You know, I realize the stuff that I'm doing and everything like that, but like the impact, you know, and you very rarely get immediate gratification of what type of impact that is having, right? So there's this, you know, I was just at the studio with my team earlier today, and we was talking about just like, you know, planning for 2023. You know what I'm saying? We got to pick back up on the documentary. You know what I'm saying? So we kind of got to go over all the footage that we have. But I was just like, yo, man, I was like, you know, this year we did a whole lot, and I was like, you know, right now I know that our numbers is not where we wanted to be at, but and like they stopped there, like, look, we good, like, and I think that to me was one of the eye openers this year, is realizing that like when you are a person that's doing something, right, you have a utmost belief in that product, right? So even if those views are not where it's getting to, you know, like, okay, you have this plan. Like, you know, I've been calling my content bingeable content. Is that when one thing extremely pops off and people go back, it's not going to be like, yo, where did Geek Set come from? It's going to be like, yo, look at the work that they did, and it's going to make sense on how we got here, right? So I'm like, we're making this bingeable content that when people do their research, they'll go back on. And I was like, but that was my thought process. And I'm like, I can't expect everybody to meet me at that level, even if they're a part of the squad. But to hear that my squad is there with me at that level, I said, okay, so now like they believe in the vision. And I was like, I don't have to worry about, are they, you know, that aspect of it, you know? And then, so when I talk to people like you, or just in general, when somebody's able to say some of the stuff and talk about it, I'm just like, yo, yeah, that's crazy, you know? Or like when I'm talking to people who see things at a high level and they still are saying like, yo, this is dope, that what y'all are doing. I'm like, yo, that's crazy to me, because I'm like, yo, you're seeing $1 million budgeted projects where we're working on some, all right, next week when we get paid, we can do this. Like, that's how that's how we're operating, right? But it's like, it is like, you know, you don't get a chance to sit back and reflect on it. It's just work until you reach, you know, whatever your goal set. You know, like with Geek Set, the big milestone that I think that's probably going to allow me to breathe is getting this documentary out that we're working on.
Yeah, bro, like I don't want to pigeonhole you into that aspect, but I do want to know, like, from a trajectory ETA, when do you think y'all are gonna have that documentary drop?
So our goal is because the way that we did it was we started filming at DreamCon and we're going to con to con. So our goal is to have the first official trailer done by next year's DreamCon. So that way we can premiere it at DreamCon. And then have the film actually ready to go and be out by the end of next year.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, so because the whole premise of it, and this is why a team is so important. So the Black Geek documentary was generally my idea in general, right? It was something that I was like, yo, I was like, the world still misunderstands what a Black Geek is or what Blurred is. And saying, like, granted, within the culture we know, but there's a lot of people who still equate it to like Steve Urkel or Carlton. And I was like, though we do love those characters, that doesn't truly represent us as a whole.
It's a
Right.
stereotype.
Stereotype. And so I was like, all right, I want to, do a documentary on this, right? So I was going at it at a traditional documentary sense. I'm going to interview somebody. We're going to talk about it. We may throw in some B-rolls and everything like that. But like, it was that. It took my guy Bacardi Sensei to be like, bro, I'm going to tell you. He was like, this seems like a normal documentary. He was like, and that's cool. But he was like, but we ain't never did anything normal. He said, what the draw? Right. And he was like, what our draw is, he was like, when we hit these conventions, people don't hit conventions like Black people hit conventions.
Nope.
And he was like, we are the navigators of this culture. And he was like, yeah, it's important. He was like, the message of what you're trying to do is still important. He said, but it shouldn't just be interviews. He said, let's go to these con to con. Let's film how we're doing it. Let's talk to the artist alley. Let's talk to the people. He was like, I don't want it to be just celebrity driven. And I said, you are absolutely right. And so then as we started doing it, we started realizing even small aspects where this so even though it's called the Black Geek documentary, the way that we're actually filming it is for a Black Geek docu-series. Because one of our directors, King, who's with us, he's a barber, right? Now, and in the Black community, the barbershop, right?
Yeah.
But most Black barbershops that you go to, they're going to have sports on. They're going to talk about movies. They're going to talk about hip hop. It's that vibe.
Women.
Yeah, women. Yep. King is a geek. So when you go to his barbershop, I'm talking about anime banners, anime on the TV, Funko Pops, you know what I'm saying? Figurines, all that stuff, right? And so I was like, yo, this is a different aspect of the barbershop, but this is Blurred culture. When you he was like, he putting people on to anime because then you come in like, what you watching? I'm watching Hunter x Hunter. I ain't never watched that. Being in a barbershop is an hour and a half, 2 hour thing.
That's a fact.
Right. So then now you're getting 4 episodes in of you watching something that you ain't never watched. So now you're like, yo, when I get to the crib, so it's
I'm
like, yo,
put that motherfucker on.
Right. So it's like now you in this, that's Blurred culture, putting people on this stuff. And I was like, yo, I bet you there's so many other barbers that's still within this culture. And so like we're filming it, even though we're filming the documentary, because our main director, Brandon Champ Robinson, he's amazing. So he was like, film it this way. He was like, I can do the documentary, but we can also position it as a docuseries if we ever get to that point. Because I was like, yeah, when we get to it, let's talk to the Black ramen shop owner. Let's talk to the Black comic book shop owner. Let's talk to that Black mechanic who, when you go to his station, it's filled with anime stuff, right? And so it's like now we're making sure that we're giving the culture a voice. It's not just, okay, yeah, we got some celebrities attached that we're going to talk to about their experience. Was that me?
You was spitting. You was spitting a little too hard. Niggas hate it. Nah.
Now we back. No, what I was saying was, wait, where did I stop at? Where did it stop us at?
You was the Black mechanics and like
the Black mechanics. Because I was like, yo, if we talk to the culture like this, is like now we not just showing Black geek culture being misrepresented, but now we're showing where Blurred culture is in so many different aspects. Like, and so it's like that kind of became the drive for the whole documentary. And so now it's like, now we got like all this footage and we're going to go over it, section it out and try to figure it out. But it's like, yeah, we're going to show DreamCon. We're going to show Artist Alley. We're going to show just different people that are blurred in so many different aspects, where my goal and my one of our focus is and hopes is that, you know how when The Harder They Fall came out and then everybody kind of got like a little bit in touch with like just country roots, cowboy heritage and stuff like that. I want that when somebody watch this and they're like, yo, I'm a Blur. Yo, wait a minute. Like, I didn't even know. Like, like I want that awakening. I like, what I'm saying? So that's our goal. So like, to me, that's going to be that moment of, yeah, man, what I'm saying? I can take a little breath, like, okay, we accomplished something, but then it's going to springboard so much other things.
Yep. Like the cause and effect of what it does for the other people at that point.
Yeah.
Too, important. That shit is important. Bro,
Yeah.
I'm fucking excited for this. You got me ready to run through a wall. Let's let this know right now. Like, I'm fucking excited for this this docu-series. I'm gonna be one of the first ones watching that motherfucker as soon as it's out. You got my support here. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I'm low-key ready to buy Geeks at merch right now, nigga. Like,
Hey man, I got you.
Send me that link. I'm ready to throw cash down right now, boy. Like,
most def, bro.
So I wanted to take the step to just, again, thank you so much for even taking the time to have this conversation with me. Thank you for taking the time to just like give us this game and this information that you put on. By all means, down the stretch, I definitely need to have you on again at some point just to shoot the shit even more.
Definitely.
Yeah, bro. I want to make sure that everybody got the time to know that, like, bro, Geek Set Podcast, where can we find you?
Mm-hmm. Oh, so man, listen here. Geek Set Podcast everywhere. Our website, geeksetpodcast.com, that has all our episodes, our articles, it has information about the Black Geek documentary. Or you can go to the blackgeekdocumentary.com, and then or you can just follow me at young_deuces, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? We make ourselves very accessible, but like also, like I said, you know, I'm around, man. I try to make sure I'm present. I be there. So like, I'm that, again, same thing. And this is something out to the blur community in general. If you are watching this and you just need a little bit of extra support, man, reach out to me. I'm a person that, like, listen here, I'm gonna give what I can give. I'm gonna help out. I'm a support. You know what I'm saying? And again, even if it's a small, hey, can you like this, retweet this, check this out, comment, like, let's go, because I'm all for the progress of the culture. So, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, I realize even certain small things, like, so this is something that I don't necessarily like to bring up, but I bring up because it makes sense, and I just want to let you guys know what my thought process is. And so I was able, through my music, to get my account actually verified, right? You know what I'm saying, on Twitter.
Yep.
So my Twitter is verified, and I don't flex it like that, but what I do and what the things that I do know is that a lot of the times when people are doing something, if they have some verified people supporting it, it looks a little bit better.
Yep.
So to the culture, use me. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me help jump that off, because like I said, I'm not a person that tries to safeguard my likes and my tweets and my comments. So if you need that extra look, and even I don't care how, you know, how like small it is, if it's just, you know, hey, we're dropping this real quick, whatever, let me know, let me support, let me help, because that's what I'm here for. I feel like that's my mission, to help out.
Hey, bro, listen here. Geek Set here for the people. They here to make sure that y'all shit straight. Hubtaku here for the people. We here to make sure y'all shit straight. And the most important thing niggas want to leave y'all with before y'all leave, continue to always make sure you keep your head in the clouds.
Mm-hmm.